This is Jonathan Conspicuous, and Ellen Chung. Jonathan initially, from the Unified Realm, began working for Google as a programmer in 2006. He later moved to San Francisco, where he would meet Ellen Chung, a 31-year-old yoga teacher. They wedded in 2019 and would before long bring into the world their girl Misha. Around the spring of 2020, Jonathan was offered the opportunity to work all day from home, and the Gordy family took full benefit. They took the action, 160 miles east to Mariposa district, completely embracing the opportunity to race Mizzou away from the city's rushing about with. The quiet hug of nature they saw as a positive and invigorating new starting for their young family. Unfamiliar, on the morning of Sunday, August 15, 2021, the Gerrish family set out right on time with the desire for going through the day. In the midst of the excellence of the wild, they set out on a concise drive down Levels Bay Street and stopped close to the door of the Levels Bay Path. Their arrangement was to climb down the Levels Bay Path, followed by the South Forked Merce Trail, and afterward polishing off the day rising the Savage 1D Path, making it a sum of 10 miles. As they started their excursion from the trailhead, Maishu was conveyed by Jonathan. What's more, securely got in a youngster solace rucksack. In the meantime, Ellen had a little hydration pack containing over 2 liters of water to guarantee they remained hydrated during their experience. The family's canine Oshki likewise accompanied on the excursion and ran close by Jonathan and Ellen as they started their climb in the late long periods of August 16th. A stressed family companion connected with policing her anxiety over not having had heard from the Pompous family for north of 2 days. Both Jonathan and Ellen had missed work that day, and when she visited their home, all that appeared to be precise and immaculate. Realizing that the Pompous family frequently continued climbing trips, she turned out to be profoundly restless that something could have happened to them while they were out on the path. As insight about the missing family arrived at, a nearby policing representative who knew all about the area volunteered to drive down Levels Inlet Street, knowing the area of an occasionally disregarded trailhead. Toward the end, it was there he found Jonathan's apparently deserted 2020 F-150. Decisively, he expeditiously made his kindred officials and specialists aware of this critical disclosure as soon as 4 a.m. devoted pursuit and salvage groups started their process down the path. As the principal trip of day arose, a helicopter was dispatched to support the hunt endeavors. Roughly a mile and a half down the Savage Fundy Trail, a lamentable revelation was made. The dead collections of Jonathan, Marju, and Ashki were found. Jonathan was in a hunch-situated position, and his girl and darling canine were close by. While scanning the region for hints, another representative saw scrape marks in the soil. Climbing the slope, charmed, he followed the path and ran over a shoe. Not long after, Ellen's dead body was likewise found in the midst of the brush. Her water bladder sadly had run totally dry. Music. The Mariposa District Sheriff's Office were unexpectedly confronted with the difficulties settling this strange and unfortunate secret because of the absence of any actual injuries or noticeable wounds. Obtuse power, injury, or utilization of a weapon were immediately dominated out as reasons for death. The bodies were transported out of the area through helicopter and before long went under post-mortem examination, albeit no hints to their end would be viewed as because of the moderate condition of decay. Over the course of the following months, specialists would preclude various reasons for death. The case was at first researched as a potential hazardous material circumstance driving Mariposa region to close down all climbing trails in open regions along the Merced Stream. Until around mid-September, the hypothesis of sullied drinking water was explored vigorously. However, their follow measure of water in their water bladder, as well as every single close-by lake and streams, were demonstrated to be clear of any poisonous green growth sprouts. As the 2-month examination delayed, specialists would preclude self-destruction, lightning strike, openness to harmful gases, cyanide, liquor and medication gluts as reasons for death at long last, to during a public interview on October 21, 2021, the Mariposa District Sheriff's Office would report their discoveries. Thank you for now. Will be our last update on the Gareth Chung case. This is a lamentable episode, heartbreaking circumstance, and has been an extremely interesting case to explore from the beginning. As of Friday, October 15th, we have decided the authority reason for death, and our pathologist has total finished his report in light of the dissection, our examination. Toxicology results the reason for death for Jonathan Gerrish, Ellen Chung, Guerrilla Miju, Chang ostentatious, not entirely set in stone, as hypothermia and likely parchedness because of the ecological openness. Oski the canines, reason for death, it stays unsure and in view of the condition of Oski's remaining parts and proof the examiners recuperated on scene. We accept Oski was likewise perhaps experiencing heat-related issues. Oski is an or Oski was an 8-year-old Aussie Akita blend. Heat-related passings are very challenging to explore, and I need to thank you for showing restraint toward us. Towards the finish of the examination, the FBI had gotten involved, helping the Mariposa Region Sheriff's Office with accessing Jonathan Gerrish's telephone with the now extricated telephone information, including message calls, photographs, and GPS information. Illustrated what happened that day. The family showed up at the trailhead around 7:30 a.m. that morning and began down the Levels Bay Street Trail. They took 3 path photographs between 7:44 am and 9:05 am, demonstrating it took somewhat less than 90 minutes to finish the initial 2 miles. The temperatures during this time were during the 70s Jan gradually ascending. Next, they would take a right turn proceeding with their process down the South Berthold Waterway Trail. GPS information demonstrates it took them 90 minutes to complete the around 2 miles of trail. A few photographs were accepted during this section too, at 9:35, 9:39, 10, 1006, and their last photograph truly being taken at the foundation of the Savage Lundy Trail at 10:29, and right now the temperature started to climb quickly, albeit in all likelihood unseen by the flashy family. As of now, they were somewhere down in the stream valley, with a lot of shade to conceal them from the sun. Anyway, this would change when they started the precarious rising of the Savage on the path about an hour after the fact, at 11:59 a.m. An endeavored instant message, read on Savage Fondy Trail, making a beeline for Levels Bay path. No water overheating with child. Could you at any point help us? Was sent, yet never got by anyone because of the area's absence of cell signal. Not long after, a progression of 911 calls were endeavored at 1209 p.m., 12:35 p.m., and 3 additional endeavored calls at 12:36 p.m. The GPS area of these calls started around where the bodies were found. Given this newly discovered data, the last hour on the path, no doubt, went like this as the family started the lofty rising up the path. They were immediately surprised to the rapidly expanding temperatures right now, drifting during the 90s. The whole slope had been torched by a past out-of-control fire, leaving no shade at all for the following a few miles. As they gradually understood the weightiness of the circumstance, they pushed on as hard as they could, realizing that well-being lies a couple of short miles away. At the trailhead, Meiju starts to give indications of intensity stress, creating what is going on to turn out to be significantly more critical, driving John to endeavor messaging his companions for help. Yet, because of the no cell signal, the messages never sent. Jonathan would be the first to go down, no doubt around the time the initial 911 calls were endeavored. He had conveyed 1-year-old Meishu the last 5.5 miles. Among that and the kind of intensity infection, it had become genuinely a lot for his body to deal with. Ellen was left with a disastrous decision: stay with her family and kick the bucket, or make one final last push for the truck, realizing consistently made a difference she chose to leave the path out and out. What's more, made one frantic endeavor to climb directly up the slope anyway. The last piece of actual effort would demonstrate lethal, and she also would before long fall under the heaviness of intensity weariness. The most horrendously terrible part about this case is regardless of whether Alan had come to the truck, it would have all been for no good reason. When examiners would later look over the paths for proof, they would find the couple had coincidentally dropped their main key coxcomb about a portion of a mile preceding, where the bodies were found. Significance: their face were fixed the second they started their climb of the Savage Wendy Trail. Jonathan, Ellen, and my shoe would each surrender to warm sickness that evening. With temperatures cresting around 109 degrees Oshki, their kid canine would, before long, capitulate to a comparative destiny, remaining faithfully by his family's side until the end, as a pariah. It's not difficult to carry analysis and decisions to this case, and in spite of the fact that it was the activities of Jonathan and Ellen that prompted their downfall that day, I don't believe it's the correct approach to it. Recognize their heritage. They were cherishing guardians who evacuated their spouses to attempt to give Meiju the best life they could, and albeit a couple of oversights on their part placed them in a very perilous circumstance, it would be inappropriate to not recognize that they gave without question everything, including their own lives, to attempt to save Meiju, and that is the very thing the ostentatious family ought to be associated with.